Good morning. The market segmentation we've been tracking continues to deepen. This week's Montgomery County-wide data confirms what our weekend pulse revealed. We're operating in two distinct markets simultaneously. In one, properly priced properties still draw multiple offers and waived contingencies. In the other, overpriced listings accumulate days on market and require repeated price cuts. Please note, I have made a small change to the community section. While Altos does an amazing job at market intelligence, it occasionally misses a bit of nuance, so I am adding my take for each community as well. Montgomery County market breakdown by community and property type. Bethesda, Maryland, single-family homes. Median list. Price, $2,097,000, up from $2,025,000. Median price of new listings, $1,522,000, down from $1,549,000. Price per square foot, $452, down from $455. Average days on market, 76, up from 75. Median days on market, 42, up from 39. Price decreased 39%, down from 40%. Price increased 1%, unchanged. Relisted 15%, up from 14%. Inventory 132, up from 130. Median rent $5,500, unchanged. Market action index 42, down from 43. Slight seller's advantage. Market narrative. Home sales have been exceeding new inventory for several weeks. However, prices have not yet stopped falling. Since the market is already in the seller's zone, expect prices to level off very soon. Should the sales trend continue, expect that prices could climb from there. My take: the continued price cuts and persistent relist rates suggest downward pressure on pricing. Bethesda, Maryland, condos, townhomes. Median list. Price, $436,499, unchanged. Median price of new listings, $1,525,000, up from $449,000. Price per square foot, $356, unchanged. Average days on market, 69, up from 63. Median days on market, 42, up from 39. Price decreased 48%, up from 42%. Price increased 0%, unchanged. Relisted 2%, down from 8%. Inventory 46, down from 48. Median rent $3,020, down from $3,029. Market action index 40, down from 41. Slight seller's advantage. Market narrative. The market has been cooling off a bit in recent weeks as more homes are available and demand is less. We're already seeing prices move lower as a result. My take: while I am anecdotally seeing a bump in activity in my personal business in this area, the increase in marketing time and price reductions are sending clear signals of a softening market. Chevy Chase, Maryland, single-family homes. Median list. Price, $2,174,900, unchanged. Median price of new listings, $1,829,500, down from $1,947,500. Price per square foot, $536, unchanged. Average days on market, 94, up from 84. Median days on market, 42, up from 35. Price decreased 46%, up from 37%. Price increased 0%, unchanged. Relisted 19%, unchanged. Inventory 52, unchanged. Median rent $4,995, down from $5,148. Market action index 41, down from 42. Slight seller's advantage. Market narrative. Home sales have been exceeding new inventory for several weeks. However, prices have not yet stopped falling. Since the market is already in the seller's zone, expect prices to level off very soon. Should the sales trend continue, expect that prices could climb from there. My take: the continued price cuts, increase in days on market, and persistent relist rate suggests downward pressure on pricing. Chevy Chase, Maryland, condos or townhomes, median list. Price $475,000, down from $495,000. Median price of new listings $233,500, down from $550,000. Price per square foot $406, down from $410. Average days on market 86, up from 78. Median days on market 63, up from 49. Price decreased 43%, up from 33%. Price increased 0%, unchanged. Relisted 8%, down from 9%. Inventory 75, down from 79. Median rent $2,693, up from $2,690. Market Action Index 31, unchanged. Slight seller's advantage. Market narrative. The market has been cooling over time and prices have recently flattened. Despite the consistent decrease in Market Action Index, we're in a seller's market, where significant demand leaves little inventory available. If the Market Action Index begins to climb, prices will likely follow suit. If it drops consistently or falls into the buyer's zone, watch for downward pressure on prices. My take. The continued price cuts, increase in days on market, and persistent relist rate suggest downward pressure on pricing. Gaithersburg, Maryland, single-family homes. Median list. Price $912,450, up from $997,450. Median price of new listings $809,500, down from $877,000. Price per square foot $257, unchanged. Average days on market 64, down from 66. Median days on market 35, up from 28. Price decreased 42%, up from 38%. Price increased 0%, unchanged. Relisted 9%, down from 10%. Inventory 96, up from 92. Median rent $3,250, down from $3,475. Market Action Index 44, down from 45. Strong seller's market. Market narrative. In the last few weeks, the market has achieved a relative stasis point in terms of sales to inventory. However, inventory is sufficiently low to keep us in the seller's market zone, so watch changes in the Market Action Index. If the market heats up, prices are likely to resume an upward climb. My take. The continued price cuts, increase in days on market, and persistent relist rate suggest downward pressure on pricing. Gaithersburg, Maryland, condos or townhomes. Median list. Price $459,450, up from $445,000. Median price of new listings $505,000, up from $440,000. Price per square foot $274, down from $275. Average days on market 39, down from 48. Median days on market 25, down from 28. Price decreased 35%, down from 38%. Price increased 0%, down from 1%. Relisted 8%, unchanged. Inventory 92, up from 72. Median rent $2,250, up from $2,126. Market Action Index 55, down from 57. Strong seller's market. Market narrative. The market continues to get hotter. More sales demand and fewer homes listed have contributed to a relatively long run of increasing prices. My take. We are seeing similar patterns, but given the spike in inventory was met with decent absorption, this market is comparably strong. Germantown, Maryland, single-family homes. Median list price $850,000, up from $849,950. Median price of new listings $799,000, unchanged. Price per square foot, $252, down from $262. Average days on market, 56, unchanged. Median days on market, 35, unchanged. Price decreased 42%, up from 36%. Price increased 0%, unchanged. Relisted 6%, down from 7%. Inventory 31, up from 28. Median rent $2,700, up from $2,650. Market action index 54, down from 56. Strong sellers market. Market narrative. The market has started cooling and prices have recently plateaued. Since we're in the seller's zone, watch for changes in the market action index. If it resumes its climb, prices will likely follow suit. If it drops consistently or falls into the buyer's zone, watch for downward pressure on prices. My take, the increasing price cuts and persistent relist rates suggest downward pressure on pricing. Germantown, Maryland, condos, townhomes. Median list. Price $335,000, down from $339,000. Median price of new listings $332,499, down from $420,000. Price per square foot $260, up from $258. Average days on market 43, unchanged. Median days on market 28, unchanged. Price decreased 42%, up from 40%. Price increased 3%, up from 1%. Relisted 8%, unchanged. Inventory 77, unchanged. Median rent $2,001, up from $1,995. Market action index 57, unchanged. Strong sellers market. Market narrative. The market has been cooling over time and prices have recently flattened. Despite the consistent decrease in market action index, we're in a seller's market. If the market action index begins to climb, prices will likely follow suit. If it drops consistently or falls into the buyer's zone, watch for downward pressure on prices. My take. While we are seeing similar patterns in the metrics, this is a fairly strong market. Absorption met or beat new listings in 3 of 4 price quartiles. Kensington, Maryland, single-family homes, median list price $1,087,500, down from $1,125,000. Median price of new listings $1,296,250, up from $1,072,500. Price per square foot $374, down from $389. Average days on market 60, up from 52. Median days on market 42, up from 35. Price decreased 39%, up from 35%. Price increased 0%, unchanged. Relisted 17%, up from 8%. Inventory 36, down from 37. Median rent $4,075, down from $4,200. Market action index 46, down from 47. Strong sellers market. Market narrative. The market has been cooling off a bit in recent weeks as more homes are available and demand is less. However, the market is still notably in the seller's zone, so we haven't yet seen prices move lower as a result. It may take a few more weeks of slack demand for prices to begin to fall. My take. I believe a lot of the price decreases here were related to aspirational pricing. Everything I am seeing in my personal business and conversations with agents and lenders in this market seem to indicate fairly strong buyer interest, but the next couple of weeks should be telling. Poolsville, Maryland, single-family homes. Median list. Price $1,049,000, unchanged. Median price of new listings. NA, no new listings. Price per square foot $255, unchanged. Average days on market 111, up from 104. Median days on market 42, up from 35. Price decreased 27%, unchanged. Price increased 0% unchanged. Relisted 0% unchanged. Inventory 11 unchanged. Median rent $3,500 unchanged. Market Action Index 39 down from 42, slight seller's advantage. Market narrative. Home sales continue to outstrip supply, and the Market Action Index was reported as moving higher for several weeks. My take. Note, Market Action Index actually declined from 42 to 39, so it appears stagnant rather than heating up given 0 new listings this week. Potomac, Maryland, single-family homes. Median list price, $1,875,000, unchanged. Median price of new listings, $1,359,000, down from $1,390,000. Price, per square foot, $356, unchanged. Average days on market, 74, up from 70. Median days on market, 35, unchanged. Price decreased 30%, down from 34%. Price increased 0%, unchanged. Relisted 8%, up from 6%. Inventory 84, up from 82. Median rent $5,338, unchanged. Market Action Index 41, down from 43, slight seller's advantage. Market narrative. The market has been cooling off in recent weeks as more homes are available and demand is less. We're already seeing prices move lower as a result. Expect this trend to continue, especially if the Market Action Index falls to the buyer's zone. Watch for a persistent upturn in market action to signal prices rising again. My take. For Potomac, your quartiles matter. At the $3,495,000 median price, we see 84 days on market. That drops to 42 at the $2,200,000 price point. $1,690,000, we are down to 28 days. And when we get down to the $1,249,000 price point, we are at a blazing 7 days on market. Fox Hills West, I'm looking at you. Rockville, Maryland, single-family homes. Median list. Price, $874,000, up from $854,495. Median price of new listings, $749,000, up from $674,500. Price per square foot, $342, down from $351. Average days on market, 48, down from 50. Median days on market, 28, unchanged. Price decreased, 51%, up from 44%. Price increased 1%, unchanged. Relisted 8%, down from 9%. Inventory 80, up from 78. Median rent $3,500, up from $3,450. Market Action Index 55, up from 54. Strong seller's market. Market narrative. The market has been cooling over time and prices have recently flattened. Despite the consistent decrease in Market Action Index, we're in a seller's market. My take. With 51% of listings requiring price cuts, one of the highest in Montgomery County, the strong seller's market label seems increasingly theoretical. Rockville, Maryland, condos/townhomes. Median list. Price, $455,000, up from $446,950. Median price of new listings, $598,000, up from $385,000. Price per square foot, $344, up from $341. Average days on market, 60, down from 62. Median days on market, 35, up from 32. Price decreased, 31%, down from 36%. Price increased, 2%, unchanged. Relisted, 10%, up from 8%. Inventory, 153, up from 146. Median rent, $2,575, up from $2,573. Market Action Index, 42, up from 41. slight seller's advantage. Market narrative. In the last few weeks, the market has achieved a relative stasis point in terms of sales to inventory. However, inventory remains low enough to keep us in the seller's market zone, so watch changes in the market action index. My take? This market, which has been consistently strong, has plateaued. I'm watching days on market and price decreases. Silver Spring, Maryland, single family homes, median list, price $685,000, up from $679,000. Median price of new listings $699,500, up from $684,500. Price per square foot $316, unchanged. Average days on market 51, up from 47. Median days on market 28, up from 21. Price decreased 37%, down from 40%. Price increased 1%, unchanged. Relisted 8%, up from 7%. Inventory 163, up from 153. Median rent $3,100, unchanged. Market action index 53, down from 54. Strong sellers market. Market narrative. The market has been cooling over time and prices plateaued for a while. Despite the consistent decrease in market action index, we're in the seller's zone. My take. This market is slow but steady. Absorption generally keeps up with supply. Silver Spring, Maryland, condos/townhomes, median list price $265,000, down from $264,999. Median price of new listings $305,000, up from $265,000. Price per square foot $245, down from $246. Average days on market 79, up from 77. Median days on market 56, unchanged. Price decreased 42%, down from 44%. Price increased 2%, unchanged. Relisted 7%, up from 6%. Inventory 171, up from 152. Median rent $1,962, down from $1,973. Market action index 44, unchanged. Slight seller's advantage. Market narrative. Home sales continue to outstrip supply, and the market action index has been flat. My take. With a 56-day median days on market, this segment shows more stagnation than strength. Key takeaways. Selective competition. Confirmed. Our weekend pulse observation of 43% multiple offers aligns perfectly with the data. Bethesda single family shows luxury homes sitting at 77 days on market while entry-level sells in 21 days. June momentum stalls. Chevy Chase condos saw median days on market jump from 49 to 56 days week over week, while 10 of 14 segments showed increasing or elevated marketing times during what should be peak season. Price cuts hit. Critical mass. Rockville single family reached 51% price reductions. Chevy Chase single family surged from 37% to 46% in just 1 week, confirming sellers are finally facing market reality. Persistent relisting rates. Chevy Chase single family maintained a 19% relist rate for a second consecutive week, while Kensington doubled from 8% to 17%, highlighting chronic pricing disconnects. Looking ahead, this week's data confirms June 2025 continues to defy seasonal patterns. 57% of buyers are waiving inspections, and 43% of new contracts receive multiple offers. When buyers find the right property among those drawing multiple offers, they compete aggressively. Strategic selectivity is at the heart of today's market. Success increasingly depends on accurate initial pricing and positioning. With buyers walking away from overpriced listings but competing fiercely for well-priced properties, sellers should avoid aspirational pricing. Ready to navigate this precision market? For buyers, get early access to new listings at zenlist.com/a/corey.feldman. For sellers, request your data-driven market analysis at bit.ly/DCMetroCMA. Questions about these shifting dynamics? Call me at 301 564 3058.